Here's a couple highlights from the weekend at North Americans, but before we get into that, let's go back. Let's go back to Friday. So Friday morning in Pittsburgh, we did our check-ins and we did a training session. So if you're new here, I'm a prep coach who actually likes to train my athletes the day before the show, in person if possible. It's always helpful to get in, see them, see Jessica smiling, see Sue laughing. But really, the purpose of this is, a couple things. The way I peak my athletes, which if you're not familiar, I just did a whole video on the topic of how I use peak week protocols. So you can kind of watch that. But food's going up, and I'm checking the physiques daily through updates. And then when you can see somebody in person, like look at Jessica's back here, you can see the details that are coming out. You can see how the body is changing. And so at a show like this, where we had about 21 competitors competing, it's really helpful to see everybody in person. And I would see them in the morning and in the evening. The goal for me is, to take advantage of the time when I'm there and go over all the things, because this is a national competition. There were more than 700 competitors competing on Saturday alone, which is the day they compete. Here's Heather doing some side laterals. So our workouts on Friday are really very minimal, right? We're maybe 30, 40 minutes of training, just getting some blood in the muscles. It helps nutrients get delivered. Honestly, it just helps you see how you look. If you can get a decent pump, it can also be like motivating for the athlete. So yeah, the goal for me as a coach is when I get these opportunities to do this. And so we took advantage. This was Lexi. She was making her debut in Fit Model. And so then, athletes right here like Sue, these are opportunities for me also to focus on, okay, what do we need to do regarding stage? Here's Bethany training. As you can see, she got a lot of muscle, very dense, very hard. So I was kind of going back and forth. As athletes would finish their workouts, I would take them upstairs to where they had this little group fitness room for posing. And then here's Maria. So the reason I had so many competitors at this show is because it's a competition that offers pro cards for multiple divisions and multiple age categories. So here's Jen. We were working a lot on her posing on this day because I felt like that was the missing piece at the last couple shows we did. So it really gives me a chance to explain for the new competitors like Brooke here, who's never been to a national show, what to expect on the national stage. What does it look like? How do they do groups? How do they do routines? How do they do call outs? How do we make sure we're posing at the right angle for the head judge? So it's for me, this was, I had bikini competitors from the age of 60 and over, all the way down to the open division. I had fit model competitors from the ages 45 and over, all the way to the open division. So that's why there's so many competitors here. This is the last national show of the year that offers a pro card for winning your class in the masters categories. So, and here's Jamie. And so really what I'm trying to do is just, you can learn a lot about a person from updates and talking to them. But when you see them in person, talk to them, and can give them the confidence and explain things in detail, it really goes a long way. And this was Heather. Heather was somebody I was very excited about because we picked up when she was only a few weeks out from her first show, and she improved significantly over the course of our prep together. She won her class at a Texas show, and you'll see she did very well at her first national show with me. And so here's me kind of explaining. This was, I think Brooke filmed this. I didn't know she filmed it till after. I'm glad she did. This is me in the group fitness room. I grabbed a bunch of the girls that had never done a national show before, and I wanted to explain to them how the groups worked. I wanted to see the angles at which they were posing. And so, I explain in detail what to expect. I think this just helps with stress and anxiety. A lot of times when we don't know what to expect, it can kind of change outcomes. So yeah, this is me just kind of walking them through what to expect. And then this is me actually pretending they're all in the same class, having them switch. And what I'm looking for here is if you look at the girls on the outside, I'm just making sure that they're angling properly. When you get 8, 9, or 10 competitors, which there were some classes with 10 competitors in a call out, angling matters, right? If you're on the outside and you pose straight ahead, it's going to change the judge's perspective of you. If you look here, look across, you see how I have the girls on the ends angled directly at me. That's what I'm looking for. So I have them switch sides and go through this. When you get to a competition, time tends to speed up, right? So if you're not thinking ahead and planning ahead, it becomes more reactionary. And sometimes you feel rushed, sometimes you feel stressed, and then you can just make some minor mistakes. So I'm just here working with Jessica. She's someone that when she hits her front pose right, it's very striking. And then here's the other Jessica. Jessica's back to back. Obviously Jessica, both of them have amazing front poses, but again, this was me trying to correct something. I think if you stop, I'm gonna stop the video right here, and I'm gonna correct something. I'm gonna have her do this again. And she fixed it. You see how I had her bring her feet in. I just felt her feet were a little too wide. You know, the finer details of posing, you're just trying to make sure you're bringing your athlete in to get the best possible result. And so, you know, noticing these little things come from years of attending the competition, years of talking to the judges, getting feedback, seeing what's rewarded, reviewing the pictures of the athletes that placed ahead of your athletes. What did they do differently? And here's Maria. And so she was in the over 50 bikini. So yeah, coaching athletes, it's such a wide variety of skills that you get good at. It's not just nutrition and training and cardio. It's not just posing. It's the strategy around how did they get these competitors to this show? What shows did they do prior to this? You know, who's head judging? What do we expect the standard to be? Here's Brooklyn, who's transitioned from the bikini to the fit model division this year, and she's done very well. She's been in the top of the call outs at every national show. She's been 3-time overall champion this year. And, you know, she's just somebody that continues to try to evolve and get better. And she does. And she's just got a striking look. And we got one more show coming up. So yeah, this is Friday, the day before the show. This is Natasha. This is her second show ever. Her last show was the week before. And so after she had won her over 40 class and her true novice class, the head judge there was going to be the head judge at North Americans. And I said, hey, you know, what do you feel? She'll be ready. He said, absolutely. You'll see she does very well. This is Marty, again, Masters bikini competitor who carries a ton of muscle, great shape, conditioning is really good. So I knew she would be in the mix, and you'll see very soon. I got all the footage from the stage as much as I could. Sometimes it can be hard as a coach, kind of going back and forth, which you'll see here. So I just figured I'd give you guys, you know, you can kind of see them here and you can see them on show day. Now, what this allows me to do is I had all these competitors. This is Bethany. I had all these competitors train for a little bit, then come up and pose. So it gives me a sense of what they're going to look like tomorrow on show day. And then based on their plan, I may adjust something, carbs, fats, and I'll usually check in with them one more time in the evening. Now, a lot of them, I try to get them to get to bed early. There's Lexi. So, you know, my evening check-ins might be 5 or 6 o'clock. Some of them are going to have tanning appointments. Some of them are going to have 3 a.m. wake-up calls for makeup. On Saturday at this show, they had wellness, then fit model, then bikini. Now, I didn't have anybody in wellness, so I knew that would take a little while. But the show started at 8 a.m. And one thing you guys need to do is click like and give me a comment and say thank you, because I sat at prejudging from 9 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. That's right. Not saying I didn't get up. I walked backstage probably a few dozen times, but the prejudging for this was literally 9.5 hours just for prejudging to finish. So, you know, this is Melanie, who's continued to just get better and better all season, transitioning from bikini to fit model, where I think she has a really bright future. So, you know, going over their routines multiple times, making sure we're not missing anything. It's, you know, it's these little details that you don't want to, you know, because there's been times in the past where I thought, you know, that doesn't quite look right, but I'll just leave it be. And then the next day it would come back to haunt me. I'll see something and be like, I wish we would have done that differently. So I've learned to really kind of advocate and speak up when I see something that I feel is off. This is Megan. She's actually coached by Christina Castle, one of the other coaches on Pro Physique. Megan, I mean, she has been doing national level bikini shows for years. I've seen her so many times, and she's such a good athlete. I was actually really interested to see how she did in the fit model category, because she carries a good amount of muscle and her conditioning was very good. So, you know, these are interesting, you know, situations for me when I see these athletes transition, because I'm still learning who's going to be the right fit for Fit Model. This is Amy Inger, I believe you say her last name. And again, she's another one that I think got the muscle, got the shape. It's all going to come down to making sure we fit the criteria. Now, this is not an eligible competitor. This is Valerie Luzvardi, who is in town for the show. We are a few weeks out from making she's getting on an IFBB Pro Bikini stage in the over 40 category. So while she was in town, I said, come on, let's get some posing in. We can see her conditioning. And what's really good is I got to see her in person, so we made some changes. Now, a few hours later, I was able to see Diana. She wasn't able to make it to the gym. This was her national Fit Model debut. She's been a national level bikini competitor for a while. So this was her just getting her check-in with me at the hotel since she wasn't able to make it to the gym. Show you a little bit of Pittsburgh. It was a beautiful weekend. Pittsburgh is a very underrated city. Really love it here, especially when it's like this and you can walk everywhere.
Looks like it's going to be a nice day in Pittsburgh. That's where we'll be all day, the Sheraton. Let's have some fun.
All right, so that was me walking over on Saturday morning, and this is the first thing I see backstage. So Wellness has already been out. Fit Model is lining up. I just wanted to give you an idea what the backstage looks like, what the girls are doing. They're kind of relaxing, all in different stages of tanning, makeup, and then Fit Model begins. And this is the over 45 Fit Model division. I'm gonna run through these pretty quickly. I try to get a little bit of video of everything, but again, if I miss something, if you're one of my competitors and I missed you, I'm sorry. It's very difficult to get footage of everybody and then go backstage and check on everybody. I go back and forth quite a bit to make sure that happens. So, here we are just looking at call outs. I think Megan pretty quickly got moved right to the middle. And I felt she was clearly winning, and I believe they had an odd number. And when there's an odd number, you're pretty confident if you're in the middle, like out of 7 or 9, you're pretty confident you won. Fit Model posing routines. It's just a quick front pose. I usually suggest about 3 seconds. And then transitions, you just want to hold for a brief split second and then get to the back. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Yep. And then back to the front, and then we're off. Yep. So very similar to what Bikini has become in regards to the routines. I think the Bikini competitors currently are putting a little bit more into their routine, but not much, especially at a national show. When you got 700 competitors competing, the expediters are literally back there telling you, hey, go to your mark, hit your front and back pose and get off, because you multiply 1 or 2 minutes times 700 people, it can be a very long day. Like I said, we didn't get done with prejudging until 6:30 p.m. So yeah, from 9 a.m., the show started at 8 a.m., right? So, I mean, you're talking about, what is that? That's 4 hours just to get to noon. So 10 and a half hours of prejudging alone. And that was, groups, then individual routines, then comparisons. Yeah, it can get long. And that's why this video is long, because I just took all these clips. Now, I intentionally took these clips vertically because I was going to upload them all to Instagram. But my connection was so bad in there, I wasn't able to upload them. Like something was, the hotel didn't have good, I didn't have good connectivity. So I ended up taking all these videos and just holding on to them to make for this video. So apologies. Now I did get some horizontal videos of some the overalls and stuff. So the end, so don't worry, I'll save that. Here's Dana, who was in the over 40 Fit Model class. Now Dana actually got the feedback that she was much too hard for this division. They actually moved her out, which I am not mad about, right? I like that they are taking competitors that don't fit the criteria and they're not letting them be second, third, or fourth. They're putting them on the outside. That happened very consistently. If you were too hard, they did not reward you. So here is Natasha in the green, and the young lady in the red was the center. The young lady in the blue was next to center. And I believe, so we knew we were fighting for that third or fourth position, which is always, it's always great. You just want to be in the mix as much as you want to be in the middle. Now, at the end of the day, when you're in the middle after prejudging, we know we're probably coming back for an overall, meaning you got to get rejudged at night. So every time I have an athlete come off the stage, where Megan was in the middle, we have to have a talk about what we're going to do, because some of the fit model girls got done at like 11, 12, 8, 12, early in the day. They weren't going to be back on stage till 7 or 8 at night. So we're talking about multiple meals. Sometimes we put a workout in. Sometimes we need to fix our tan. Sometimes they had an early wake up time and they didn't get sleep. They need to take a nap. So here we are just, watching this division unfold before our eyes. Gotta say, it's evolving quickly, and the competitors are fantastic. There's Brooke right there on the left of center. In the mix, I believe this is either the over 35 or the over 40 at this point. That was the over 35. Okay, so here's open. And this is the class that Lexi was in. This is probably the group comparisons. And if you listen to our podcast, Lexi talked a lot about her stage package. She was having issues with her color, keeping it dark enough, and just some other minor things. She talks a little bit about her feedback, but she did not end up getting into the first group. I think there were 18 to 20 girls in her class. So that's another thing that's changing very quickly. The first couple shows of the year, the classes were much smaller. Now with 4 classes, we're starting to see regularly 20 girls per class. And I think that's going to continue. I think there's going to be more competitors switching to the fit model, especially with the announcement that they will have fit model to 2026 Olympia. Yeah, big changes in the sport. This is Lexi's individual routine. So what you saw first there was group comparisons. They bring everybody out in numerical order, compare them in groups. The judges kind of, make note of who they want to see in their top call out. Then they come out for their individual routines. They don't typically place too much emphasis on the individual routines, but I have seen the judges go, you know what, I want to see more of that girl, and move them into the first call outs. So sometimes less is more, but for the most part, you just want to use the individual to show off your highlights. This is Brooklyn. Again, love the look. She really brings something special to the stage every time we compete. And this was no different. And back pose, transition to the front. Yep, just like we practiced if you guys watched it yesterday. And then they're going to do, these are the call outs for this. So pretty quickly, they put Brooklyn in the 3-4 position. The 2 young ladies in the middle are in the red and the blue suit. And that really did not change. And the way they were awarding pro cards at this show, you had to win your class to turn pro for the open categories. For the masters categories, you actually had to win your class and place in the overall, depending on the age. But for this show, it was 1 pro card per class. There were 4 height classes. This was the tallest class in Class D. Also might have been the biggest. I believe there was, I don't remember, something around 20 competitors. But significant increases lately in the size of this division in the national classes. I'm still not seeing the numbers grow too much at the regional level, but masters for sure. So now we're on to the bikini category. Now I missed my first competitor, Sue. I was backstage. She was in the over 60 bikini. This is Paula Bernstein in the 50s or 55s. Again, fantastic physique, fantastic look. And she performed her routine very well, which we had trouble with in the past. This is Marty. And let's see here. Marty's routine is, Marty is a detail-oriented competitor. She loves to nail everything. She's very focused on like nutrition, training, how she handles her tan, her posing. And it comes across. She's got a very professional vibe to her. And she will be a pro. She just has that wow factor. And then here she is in the first call outs. So as you can see, it's very heavily red suits. Marty is just on the outside of center. And then there's Paula as well. So yeah, right now I think we were just waiting to see if they were going to move either of the girls to the center. And this is where, I can learn from what the judges are seeing. What are they seeing? I thought Marty was not as sharp in the glutes as the girls that were in the middle. Although afterwards, speaking to the head judge, he didn't feel it was a conditioning issue. He felt it was that the 2 girls that were ahead of her had just kind of a better structure for the sport, which is not something we can necessarily fix. And this is Maria Rossi, who's looks like she's getting a little nervous there, a little missteps. But overall, she looks fantastic. And she had gotten 3rd at our last competition, right? And so only the winner gets a pro card. So our goal for this show was to take that next step. And lo and behold, she is splitting middle. So this is what you want to see at the end of prejudging. You want your competitors in the middle, because then you know when they come back for finals, we're going to find out like what's the result. And for Maria, after prejudging, it was very close. And that's why I love having these videos to look at, because once prejudging's over, I'll go sit down with them and I'll say, okay, let's talk about our food. We can come back a little fuller. We can come back a little tighter. She had a few hours to kill. Like I said, I don't remember the exact time here, but Masters Bikini was probably like 2 or 3 o'clock at this point. And remember, I'd been there since 9 a.m. So, we still have 6-7 hours before they're going to get back on stage, 5-6 hours before they're going to get back on stage. So this is Dion. Again, if you watched my video from Atlanta, she did the Atlanta show, and we actually improved quite a bit from Atlanta. I felt our conditioning was better. We peaked a little bit better. She stayed super sharp. She just got a fantastic physique. She carries a ton of muscle, great shape. And you get to these national competitions, and that's what it's about. It's about, standing next to these women and, seeing if you can get to the center. Now, Dion got close to the center, but I don't think we ever got to the middle. I think she ended up in the 3-4 position. The 2 ladies in the dark suits were in the middle. So, the goal right here is just, and as a coach, sometimes you just got to say, yeah, that competitor looks good. No harm in that. Now here is Jen. Now Jen is a warrior. Jen and I have done so many national shows together. We've been in the, the top 4 before, but we've never been in the middle. And so I felt like her glutes had come way up. This was one of the best conditioning packages we've ever had. Her core was an issue. Digestively, we had to sort out what foods she was eating as the competition approached. But we did that, and this was her best look yet. So I was really curious to see where she would end up. Lo and behold, she ends up splitting middle. And so as a coach, this is where you're just, this is where I actually start to probably get nervous. Once you get to the middle, A, you don't want to get moved out. And B, I'm just looking at the other competitor like, okay, what can I say about the other competitor? Why would it go her way? I felt that, I just felt that Jen's shoulders, glutes kind of matched better, but I thought the other young lady had such great shape and density that it could go either way. I really had no idea after that class. But as a coach, I think I'm probably more pessimistic than optimistic at certain times. Just because, you go to a lot of these shows and you never really know. There's been times where I was certain we were going to win and we lost, and times where I thought we were going to lose and we won. And here's Heather, our girl from Texas. And I knew she was going to be in the mix. She just had such wow factor. And certainly this was her first call out. And I think the closest we got was here. Like the 2 girls in the center are the blue, and the left of the blue is the other center. Heather is right of the blue, the blonde there. And so I think I was like, man, just move her in. When they take a long time like this, the judges, they're really talking. They're like, okay, who's got the better fullness, the better shape, the better conditioning? They really take their time. Now, this class was actually huge. I remember thinking how big some of these classes were. And overall, just very, very excited to see Heather get into that first call out at our first show together. This is probably a little bit out of order, or maybe it's not. No, this is Jessica. Okay, this is Jessica. So she's in first call outs as well. And again, I think she did a really good job this show. It was our best look of the season, conditioning, shape-wise. I still think there's work to be done. We had a long season, and it was one where, I had to grind her down to get her in shape. And I think, the length of time of our season, she was kind of hanging on at the end. She was struggling a little bit with hunger, a little bit with fatigue. I was giving her a lot more recovery days, and it did help her respond. But again, right here, I don't think she opens up that front pose quite enough. It's pretty good, but we were having troubles with that earlier, but she looked amazing. And so I was happy she got into that first call out. This is Bethany Lauster, who is actually local to Pittsburgh. She's someone that, carries all the muscle, has all the beauty. But where we struggle is that she just doesn't have that super duper hourglass natural shape. So we have to overcome that with really posing a certain way and trying to accentuate muscle growth, which she's done a great job of. She's really transformed her physique from when we started a couple of years ago. She's much more balanced, right? She's added some glutes, taken away some quads. Now, normally I'd be really excited that she was getting moved in here, but I think this was second call outs. So she ended up not getting to the first call-outs, but they did move her kind of pretty close to the center of the second call-outs. And again, I think it just comes down to, at this level, you're going to run into a lot of competitors that have the muscle A, but B, they also just have that really pretty hourglass shape. And Bethany has a little bit less of that, right? So if you see here, it's a little bit more straight up and down, even though she has great shoulders, great glutes, great quads, great hamstrings. Now we're getting closer to the end here, because as we get into Jamie's routine here, we're into the bikini division, which was the last category of the morning. I think we're probably going on like 3:30, 4 o'clock at this point, and I'm probably starting to freak out because I'm like, man, we still have open bikini left, right? This is like the over 35 bikini, which is typically pretty big. But open bikini is, you've got all the open competitors plus the crossover, so I was starting to get a little bit nervous. But lo and behold, open bikini was super tiny. In fact, I only had one competitor, and this was her. This is Jessica McLaughlin. She's in class F. This is her individual routine. The reason I got her individual routine is because that went fast. There was only like 11 girls in class A, 8 in class B. There was only 111 competitors total in open bikini, which is the smallest I've ever seen the show. So fortunately for the timeline of the show, it got a lot quicker once open bikini started. Now this is first call outs, and these are the two girls in the center. Jessica got moved in immediately. I think she might have even started in. And then the young lady in the red, actually, and I think her name is Scarlett, she actually won a show in Florida last year, so I was familiar with her. I felt like Jessica was pretty dominant here in all aspects, but Scarlett is a very good competitor. So again, it was one of those situations where I'm not going to get overly confident, even though everyone was telling me how good Jessica was. And I thought, yeah, I agree she's good, but until you hear that name, I felt like Scarlett has great shape, but she just didn't quite have the density that Jessica has. And Jessica also has this wow factor, her stage presence. She's super confident up there. So it was a good way to end the morning. This was my last competitor of the 21 that competed. And we ended in the middle. So we had a bunch of girls end in the middle, and at finals, it goes really fast. Why? They did no routines. They literally just put them on stage and handed out awards. Here's the Fitting Fit Model girls on Instagram. Now what I did at finals was I kind of took a picture of what was on stage, and then so you could see the awards. So yeah, lo and behold, Megan won her class. The Fit Model over 45, class D. And then you'll see like a couple of the girls, like Amy and Melanie, were in the top 5 here. Yep, so here is the overall. Now, the only way to win your pro card in this is to win the overall. So these are the 3 winners from the over 45 Fit Model. Megan made it to the final, and so you're getting to watch. This is live judged. This is exactly what the judges were seeing. I was pretty confident. I thought Megan was really holding her own here. I didn't know, the young lady in the purple also stuck out to me, but I felt like Megan's core was tighter. But tighter is not necessarily what they always go for, but lo and behold, her moment came. So they actually announced the overall winner here, and your overall winner is Megan, and she loses it. Actually, when I saw her backstage after this, she just broke down in full tears. So she's been chasing that IFBB pro card for years. They introduced this new division, and she wins it straight away. So very cool. Congratulations to Megan and her coach, Christina. And then we just move on again. We're not doing any routines, right? So this is gonna go pretty quick now that we're getting close. Over 40, class B. And so you saw Megan actually place 3rd in the open class as well, or that class as well. So she did very well on this day. There's Natasha, I think she got 3rd at that class. Sorry, this picture's a little bit out of order. Some of these pictures are from like me running around and getting stuff. There's us outside taking a picture together. Fit Model Open D. This was the class that Brooklyn was in. Brooklyn ended up getting 4th, which was great, but not what we wanted. We're trying to get her to the middle and get that pro card. So we're now going to be focused on the Amateur Olympia. And again, that was not our pro card, but yeah, this is over 50 class C. There's Dion in that class getting a placing. And then remember, Jen was in the middle, and then you just don't want to hear your name until they say first. And guess what? Jen got our pro card. So years of battling. Fit Coach Jen on Instagram, Michigan girl, very, very excited for her. And these are very rewarding moments as a coach because we just take the feedback each season and come back better. And this was our, we've done multiple seasons together. I would say 3 or 4, but she's always been knocking on the door. Then we get to the open bikini category, and lo and behold, Jessica does win the pro card. Now at this show, only the winners get the pro cards. There's not 2. So it's kind of an all or nothing. You got to win your class. And here's Jessica, who this is only our second try at a pro card. She's actually a natural competitor. She did the Ben Weider last year. But she carries so much muscle. She can actually do open shows and do very well. This is the bikini overall. And very good, very high quality overall. Just wanted to give you guys some comparisons. Jessica is on the far left here, and she is in the 3 or 4 position for the overall. Now remember, all these girls are already pros, so this is more just for the prestige of who's going to be your overall winner. And I wanted to compare Jessica to the eventual overall winner, and this is them right here. So where I feel like Jessica ended up not winning the show, if you look here, a little bit of conditioning. I felt like we could have been a little bit tighter in the back pose, as you see all the girls in the overall. But from the front, I will tell you, I thought Jessica was actually potentially winning the show. Just her wow factor from the front is stunning. And this is us flying home the next morning. All right, guys, thanks for watching.